Good morning and welcome to Talking Bayside Business. I'm your host, Rebecca Matthews. I'm the transformation coach and the founder of local business, The Mind and Body Co. Talking Bayside Business is a small interview series where I shine a light on some of our local business people in our community, and more importantly, give you the opportunity to get to know the people behind the businesses, so we can support them and champion them however we can out in our community. Today, I'm really thrilled to introduce you to Debi Brett from Debi Brett Photography. Welcome, Debi.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining me. I know it's a busy day and there's lots of things to be done. So I do appreciate you taking the time to join me to chat today. Can you just give us a little bit of an introduction to, your business and what you do?
Yes, I'd love to. So as you said, my business is Debi Brett Photography, and I am a storytelling photographer, videographer, and also educator. And I've recently pivoted my business, so I specialise in storytelling photography for eco-conscious businesses. And I am based in Birkdale, so very much Bayside, and I'm very lucky to have an in-home studio, which makes life a bit easier.
Amazing. And can you tell me a little bit about, I'm familiar with photography and brand photography, in studio and portrait photography. Tell me a little bit about story photography.
So storytelling photography is basically a way of photographing your either the service or the product business in an emotion with an emotional connection. So the idea is it's very interactive. I use lots of models and sort of people, and I set up scenes. So rather than having very closed and propped setups, I use props, but they look very organic. So it's almost like you just rocked up and you just so happen to find that there. So it's about telling the story, because ultimately when you make an emotional connection to your client or your ideal customer, most people buy from the heart, and they will buy with their emotions.
Yeah, and there's a real push now, isn't there, for imagery and galleries, and particularly with the movement to Instagram and, the way people are capturing their businesses from all industries, but capturing and trying to connect with like you said, the emotion, the intention, the philosophies and all of that stuff through an image. So it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, it is. Well, ultimately people buy from people. And I think especially since, COVID, a lot of people are trying to avoid the big organisations and the big shops, and they're trying to support small businesses and actually want to buy locally and support the local community. So again, that really connects to people, especially if they recognise a backdrop or they recognise something that's going on, it makes them feel even more connected.
Absolutely. It's certainly something that I have been very conscious about over the last few years, even before COVID, was really supporting local business. And, if you can shop local, then, and where you can, you should. And it's not a luxury that everybody can afford to do. And it's not always within everybody's reach, but there are always ways for us to support local businesses, even if it's not with our wallet specifically. So I love that especially if people can put themselves out on a platform and share what they're doing in different ways. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was that got you excited about going into business for yourself?
Well, I've always worked for small businesses. From the moment I graduated, I wanted to work for a small business. I worked for a designer in London for an interior design company, a very small, kind of no more than 5 people. And then after I left that, in 2003, I actually started my own business then. So I've never worked for a large corporation. I've always worked for small businesses. And since 2003, I've been self-employed. And I love the creative side of what I do, but I also love the business side. I love learning and I love marketing, and I get very excited about the whole kind of small business process. And I love even though, as I say, I love the freedom. It gives you freedom. I mean, it's obviously very hard work, but I love the flexibility I can have, especially now that I've got young children, to attend school events or pick them up early, or just if they're not feeling well, I can be at home with them. So I really like that side of it as well.
Yeah, certainly, for anyone watching, going into business for yourself is not the easy option, but it's certainly
No.
it gives you a vehicle to create a life that you want, that's by your design and fits in the things that are important to you. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly not the easiest option, that's for sure. And it's not for everybody, but
No.
That's very exciting. And so you're obviously you've been involved with small businesses and you are obviously very passionate about small business. Is that why you've chosen to really focus on that aspect of the work that you're doing, working with other small businesses?
Oh, good question. Probably indirectly. Hadn't really thought about that. Yes, I mean, I do I do love, whenever we have a shoot in the studio, there is non-stop small business chat going on, and I do love championing other small businesses and learning learning from other businesses and sharing my knowledge as well. So yeah, probably, yeah, I really enjoy the passion that small business owners bring to the table. It's something I really enjoy being surrounded by. Yeah, that energy.
Yeah, it's absolutely magnetic, isn't it? When you talk to people about their businesses and what gets them excited and why they get up every morning and why they do the long hours and why they've invested and taken the risk, it is very infectious. It's a very infectious kind of energy to be a part of. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about either your business or the industry that you're in?
I think a lot of people assume I spend all day just taking photos, and I probably 20% of my week max is take photos. The rest of it is marketing, just to try and get myself out there the whole time. Social media is just a huge part of what I have to do, and I think also. I don't think people realise financially you have to invest in setting up a photography business with equipment. It's a big investment. It's a huge investment, in fact, and the ongoing education, technology changes, and as new apps and new ways of sharing your work come on, you've got to be on top of all that. So I think that's probably Mrs. biggest misconception is I all day photos.
Yeah, it's not just buy yourself a camera, throw it over your shoulder, and off you go create a business. No, absolutely.
No, it's not at all. I mean, as I get a team, in years to come, that may well be the case, but at the moment, no, it's not.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned you're a local Bayside business in Birkdale. What do you find, this is a two-pronged question, what do you find are the most challenging things about being a Bayside business? And also on the flip side, what are the most rewarding things about being a Bayside business?
Oh, do you know, it's a really interesting question, because I came from London and I landed in Birkdale. So I have like a bit more of a city mentality, and I've been here 8 years now. But when I first arrived here, I really struggled with how few people there were, and just that kind of how easy things were. And I think just that kind of energy that comes with a city. So I think what I've really noticed over the last couple of years and enjoyed is that as people are pushing out from Brisbane, there seems to be more of a city mentality coming into the Bayside area. And with that, there's the restaurants and the shops and the events that go with it. So I think the creativity has really increased in the Bayside in the last couple of years. So I'm really enjoying that side of it. I love how into a city, I love how my network just seems to be getting tighter and tighter and tighter, as in people know people who know people who know people. And quite often I will get a job because somebody knows I've done a shoot for somebody, or I rock up and say, oh, I know you, I see your car with a thing in the background. Whereas I never had that in a big city. So I really, really enjoy that. As for the downsides, I mean, I can't fault anything around here. I love it. I love it. I mean, we're so close to Brisbane that if you do need to get into a city, you've got that. And the mix of people are really good, and it's just easy. I find it really easy.
Yeah,
happy.
lovely. It's funny. One of the things that we really appeal to us about this area is, you know, it does have that kind of small country town kind of community feel. And my husband and I are from a very small rural town in New Zealand where, you know, there's pros and cons to being a part of such a tight-knit community. You know, there's everybody knows everybody's business, but at the same time everybody knows everybody's business. So you know, it's you know, it is a positive and a negative, but what I love about this community is that, you know, like you said, you know, once somebody experiences working with you, they're going to share that with their people in their network, and they're going to share it with their network, and it has this really beautiful, organic, authentic nature to it.
It does.
And I think that's what's really special, and being a part of a small community like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. I really love it. And I love that my family and my girls are growing up experiencing that as well. I love that they can be involved. They're quite often involved with things, and they're getting to know local makers and creators as well. And I just love that they've been exposed at such an early age, and it's so easy for them to be involved.
Absolutely. You know, my husband and I are both working in our business. I'm a transformation coach. My husband's a personal trainer and nutrition coach. And, you know, our children are growing up in an environment where they're not thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a mechanic or a painter or a chippy, you know, like they are thinking, you know, hey, what can I do for myself? What kind of business do I want to create? How can I follow my dreams and turn it into something? And I think that that's a very different world we live in than what we were brought up in. I think that's really exciting.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think that
I agree.
For me personally, that's one of my biggest motivators as an entrepreneur or as a small business person is really setting that scene for my children to see a different way.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Totally.
So what are your hopes and your dreams? You mentioned growing a team, but what are your hopes and dreams for the next 12 months?
Well, actually, very exciting today. I actually signed the paperwork for my first employee. So I have someone coming in part-time working for me, I know, which is really exciting. So that's the first bit of my growth, which is outsourcing some of my, well, not outsourcing, but taking care of some of my marketing side of things. And I really want to, I think this year for me is about being known as a storytelling photographer for eco-conscious businesses, and just growing my name in that sector. And also I love the education side of things. I do workshops, but I would love to develop like an online forum for education. So that's my plans for this year.
Well, that sounds like a very exciting year.
Yes, I'm excited by it.
So, you know, just to talk a little bit more about, you know, our amazing community. So you mentioned you've been here for 8 years now, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
I got that right. Make sure I'm listening correctly.
Yeah, no, it is.
8 years. And, you know, how have you noticed, you know, you mentioned there's more cafes, there's more events, there's more of those sorts of things. Is that the biggest thing you've noticed in the changes in the local Bayside community over the last couple of years?
I think so. I mean, when we first arrived here, we, you know, we didn't really have any kind of funky cafes or anything like that, whereas there's so much more going on. And I think it is because house prices are driving people out of the city, but they're coming with their more city marathons and incomes. And so there's now a need for more and really lovely restaurants and nice cafes, and just more, very lucky. We've got so many, you know, we've got Red Pack in Cleveland, which is just beautiful, the productions they put on there and the art shows that come here. So I think that's the biggest change I've seen, which is just a huge positive. Yeah,
absolutely. And so what would you like what would you love to see happen in this area in the next 12 to 24 months?
I just think more of the same, and just seeing the community support those changes. I'd love to see even more small businesses flourish in the Bayside. I think the Bayside is very supportive anyway of small businesses. I know when COVID hit, I got a huge amount of support from the local council, which was fantastic. So yeah, I think just more of the same, really.
Yeah, fantastic. I do love that. I feel like there has been a real push, and I think COVID last year was a gift in the sense that it's really helped people to reprioritize and to realize that life's short and to follow your dreams, and that little cafe or that little hole in the wall or whatever it was that you've been dreaming of opening one day far, far down the track. People are going, stuff it, let's do it, let's give it a crack. And I think the mentality of the locals supporting locals to follow their dreams and to try these new things is really exciting.
And you're right, there's a lot of, I get an awful lot of support from other fellow small business owners. They're always going out of their way to either recommend me to somebody or send me information that I might find interesting. And, so I love how the small business community really supports each other in the Bayside as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm totally on board with that.
Yes.
Now, the last thing I wanted to ask you was, I guess, a little bit more personal. Let us into your world a little bit. Do you have a favorite place to go or a favorite thing to do with your family?
Oh, there's so many beautiful things to do around here. I think one of my favorite Indigiscapes at Capalaba. I absolutely love Indigiscapes. And when we first arrived here, and I had two under the age of 2 and didn't know anybody, that was my absolute saviour. I just loved going there. Wellington Point is always a favourite, especially the village at night time's got a really lovely vibe. And the Wynnum waterfront, I think that's just, you can't beat walking along there, scooters and some fish and chips, and they're really my kind of go-to favourites. Probably the ones that everyone knows. I haven't got any hidden gems, I'm afraid. Or I haven't.
That's okay, because the locals don't like to share their hidden
No, I'm trying to find those hidden gems.
Nobody likes to tell anyone their hidden secret spots. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And I wish you all the very best of success with the growing of the business this year and bringing on your first employee.
Very much.
Very exciting. And I hope that the local community that didn't know who Debi Brett was now know who Debi Brett is and what she does.
Oh, thank you.
Really get behind you and help spread the word. I think that's a really exciting thing to happen as a community.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, no problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.